is part 2 of my June wrap up. So I'm going to talk to you about my library books first because I need to take them back like today. Yeah, cutting it close. This first book, it's not actually due yet, but I do want to go ahead and take it back so that someone else can enjoy it. So this is She's Too Pretty to Burn. I actually received this as an ARC back in like last summer, and it came out in March. I'm bad, I know. But I finally read it. I've discovered about myself that I like seeing the physical progress by reading a book, like a hard copy book, rather than an ebook. So while I love getting e-arcs, and I'm very, very thankful to everyone that sends me them, that's just something about myself that I've discovered. I'm trying to be better about it because like I said, I'm very thankful for all those arcs, but I need to catch up. I'm super far behind. So July is gonna be primarily reading all of those arcs and finally catching up so that I can read some of these that I have not read yet. And some of those ones were my haul. But anyway, this is She's Too Pretty to Burn by Wendy Hurd. I finished it today. It is so good. It is actually a Picture of Dorian Gray retelling. Have I read that? No. Did I love this? Yes. It was so good. This is a YA mystery thriller. So in this, we follow Mick and Veronica, and they are lovers. So this is also a Pride book. It was so good. Like Mick is, I believe that like she's the Dorian character who hates having her picture taken. Like it gives her anxiety, like actual anxiety. She despises it. It just makes her feel like gross all over. Like it just makes her feel very exposed, and she hates that. But her mother is a model and tries to guilt her into doing modeling jobs with her and everything. And they have a very toxic relationship. And obviously Mick meets Veronica at some point. Of course it's during a party, because would it be a YA if there wasn't a love interest met at a party? I feel like that's every YA book. But I love it. Like I love that trope, I guess, like meeting someone at a party and like you're the weird awkward one, or they are, and like you just like strike up a conversation and discover you like each other. I don't know why, but I love that. But basically they decide that the party is lame. They don't like it. They don't like anyone there. Everyone at the party is like popular and dumb and just so they decide to go have their own fun. So they Uber to the Gaslight District to just like walk around and have fun. But Veronica is a photographer, so hence that's where the photograph aspect comes more into play. And she talks Mick into letting her take her picture, but she tells Mick that there is no film in the camera, so that it's fine. Like, it's fine. I know that gives you anxiety. There's no film in the camera. It's okay. Like, I won't really be taking your picture. But she lied. So obviously that happens, and flips it. She is still she's obsessed with film cameras. So she develops it and she shows it to Mick, and she's like, see, you're so beautiful. And she like kind of toxically convinces Mick to let her put it on Instagram, and it goes viral. Which is more mortifying to Mick. Like that just gives her more anxiety, because she's like, I didn't want the entire world to see me, but they do. So on top of like this super toxic relationship with her mom, her like new romantic relationship is kind of toxic as well. And of course, like her mom sees that picture on Instagram and sees that it's viral and she's famous now. So she's pissed and she kicks Mick out, and that it just like snowballs. Like one thing after another seems to go wrong. Mick finds herself involved in like some disruptive installations is what the person calls it, and he is psychotic. And like basically like people wind up murdered. Obviously, this is a mystery thriller, so there's murder, a lot of like crime, and Mick and Veronica find themselves involved in this, and they have to figure out who did it, why, and prove to the cops after that they are not involved in any way. This was so good, and the author, Wendy Hurd, she cliffhangered it, so there could be a next book because the killer gets away. And it's super creepy because he's super, super smart, but he's really reckless too. So you find yourself wondering, like, will there be a second book, and where and how will he pop up in that second book? Like, will they finally catch him? Like, is this going to be a series? It kind of gave me kind of Pretty Little Liar vibes, especially at the end when the killer gets away and you have no idea where he is and what's going on, and especially because he was a friend. Like, it's that kind of book. Like, he was a very close friend. I did not see that coming. Like, I was like, wow, this guy is kind of toxic, and like, as you read on in the book, you're like, wow, that's super creepy. He's killing small animals and turning them into art. And I'm like, red flags. So I wasn't super surprised by who the killer was, because I was like, this guy is like creepy. How does no one see what's wrong? But they didn't. So yeah, but I loved that book. So highly recommend that. The next book that I'm going to talk about is Crazy Stupid Bromance by Lyssa K. Adams. This is the third book in the series, and this is the third book I've read by her. I love these. I'm addicted. I want them all. This is another library book, but I want this whole series. And the next book is coming out, I think, this month. I think you can go ahead and pre-order it. I believe it's called Isn't It Bromantic? And I believe it follows Vlad, the Russian, in the next book. So this book is the third in the series. This book actually follows, if you're not aware, all the guys in this series are involved in a book club where they all read romance novels to try to learn what women want, like what we want to be treated like, how we think, like what we need in relationships, what different women are going through in certain situations, how we're thinking when we're going through those situations, and like how to deal with that, and like how to be a better man, basically, or a better person in general. So in this book, we are following Alexis Carlisle and Noah Logan. Alexis is the character that owns the Tobin's Cafe that they mention in both of the other books. Actually, they mention it in the Bromance book club and Undercover Bromance. So she opens her own like cat cafe, and in this book, like, she at this point has like made the world aware that she was a victim of abuse and sexual assault under a previous employer. And so her cafe has also become a like safe haven for women who have gone through the same thing or a similar situation, like abusive relationships, sexual assault, rape, all of that kind of stuff. And of course, someone in her like neighborhood is upset about that. So like it's a huge thing, and they're talking about like making her stop that kind of support group. But of course, there's also a guy. She and Noah are friends. They've been best friends for a couple years now. And everyone is always asking them when they're going to start dating, when that is going to be a thing, and like why it isn't yet. And so finally, in this book, they mention that they do like each other, and then they have to figure out where to take that. And of course, as if like the whole thing with the cafe isn't enough drama and the falling in love with your best friend, then she finds out some stuff about her dad, and so they have to figure out like what to do about that, and like that affects her relationship with Noah, and he's kind of left wondering if how she's acting towards him has anything to do with that, and vice versa. So I really, really love this. I will say this was a lot faster paced as far as like them actually getting together. The other two books, it took a while because the first book was actually a husband and wife duo, and they had like reached kind of a crossroads in their marriage and were like very close to divorce. The other book was enemies to lovers, so obviously that took a while too, but since they were already friends, they fell in love a lot faster. The next book that I want to talk about is Tales from the Hinterland. I love, love, love this. This is a compilation of all of the stories by Melissa Albert from the Tales from the Hinterland and the Night Country. These are so good. These are the backstories basically for all the characters in those books. They're everything that I wanted them to be. And they're still super spooky, super creepy, very dark. Like I would say, I've been saying they're like maybe even creepier than Grimm's fairy tales. Like they're gory. Like a couple of them are like really gory and like kind of gross, but they're so good. Like so good. Like, and they have a lot of the fairy tale tropes, like the rule of three, death, it plays a role in like a couple of the stories. Yeah, there's a lot of mythology, a lot of folklore. I think the author probably drew from some of the traditional fairy tales and like gave them her own spin, and then like completely made up several of these. So if you love fairy tales or you like Melissa Albert's writing, definitely read this. It's a super quick read. It's like only a couple hundred pages. Yeah, it's like 223 pages, so super quick read. The stories aren't super long. I would say they're between 10 to 20 pages. So this would be a great read for like your coffee table or your bedside. Pick it up, read a story, and then put it down and go do something else. So like great stories. The next book that I want to talk about is Where the Crawdads Sing. This was one of the Reese Book Club books. I was seeing stuff about it for a couple years now and finally got around to reading it, and I found out it's going to be a movie. I'm not sure if it's going to be a Netflix movie or if like someone else picked it up and it's going to be like in theaters, but I'm super excited for it. I was so invested in Kaya. She is a young child at the beginning of this book, and by the end she's an adult, and basically her whole family leaves her, like, and she has to figure out how to survive on her own. So she's a victim of abuse and neglect and actually sexual assault too. So like if those are any of your triggers, you don't want to read this, but I loved it. She did such a fantastic job raising herself, watching and learning about people. She does get tricked and schemed a lot, but she learns from it and she realizes what's going on often before it's too late. And by the end of the book, she is like an accomplished woman. She is like educated and successful, and I just loved that. I love that she really started at the bottom and rose to the top. And because of where she lives in like the really crappy part of town. She lives in the marsh, and nobody wants to live in the marsh in this town, and people judge her so harshly, and they think that she's like less than them. I loved this. Like I said, I was so invested in this character. It is also a murder mystery. There is a murder in the book, and so you're left wondering who did it, because there are multiple people that could have done it. I cannot wait to see the movie. I saw a photo on Instagram of Reese with the cast for the movie, and I think they did a fantastic job casting Kaya and Tate, who is the boy that she actually like falls head over heels for and kind of loves her whole life. So I love that. I cannot wait to see the movie. But that is all of the books that I read in June. If you liked this video, go ahead and hit like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.